decline of the human consciousness after Atlantis was part of God's deliberate plan in order to move the souls towards completion. Nothing could hinder it, because the web of the planet's basic energy and its electromagnetic radiation increasingly distorted the consciousness of people. Whenever the time was right, they brought new consciousness impulses to the leaders of humankind. This happened through the messengers from the cities of the inside of the earth. Some came as incarnated masters, others as emissaries. Since the destruction of Atlantis, the brotherhood of the Illuminati prevailed. It started as a sun supremacy with all its masculine attributes. All Western cultural circles carry the symbol of the snake, the pyramid, or the obelisk, which point to the masculine power of the cosmos. Churches and high-rise buildings in our civilization indicate the strength of the male omnipotence. The Sun Masters are the architects of all Western cultures and are now striving to reach prominence through the ruling of the global world order. They all serve Shambhala and work with the Red Dragon, the red-capped Tibetans who are the worldly representatives of Shambhala. The aim of the Brothers of Shambhala, together with their worldly leaders, the Illuminati, is to establish a global world government. The Brotherhood represents the earthbound powers, the Omegapole, the builders of matter. World politics and religions have the same objective. They obey some brotherhood or priesthood, using different means to obtain this single objective. Hence, since the battle in Atlantis, the Brothers of Shambhala have led the spiritual elite to build diverse world empires.
Who are the Illuminati? That's one of the most interesting questions that one would never find answered in the academic textbooks. In the information about it is missing from the public libraries. However, after years of research and primarily association with the large American dissident political community, I have discovered for myself knowledge and books that normally is simply impossible to get. It has been deleted from the public libraries in the best Orwellian tradition by the Illuminati themselves. Whether the Illuminati are the topmost layer of the secret societies on the planet is not that important a question. There may be other levels above them. What is important is that the Illuminati are the interface between the secret societies, this pyramid of secret societies on the planet, and the extraterrestrials above them. There are many books that indicate that, let's call it the Politburo of the Illuminati, has members that are either extraterrestrials that beam down for every meeting, or even the rumor is that Lord Maitreya himself may be materializing for some of the more important meetings that they have. So basically, the Illuminati are the quiet, underground, low-key interface between our secret terrestrial government and aliens above it, aliens who themselves are subcontracting for even higher levels of celestial management structures. What is the political program of the Illuminati? What is their political manifesto? Comet Lucifer is known in the celestial nomenclature as the bright morning star. So anything that is associated with light, anything that has a light in its title, a book that talks a lot about life rather than about love, is probably inspired by the Luciferian, by the Illuminati presence on the planet. And basically the Illuminati are the secret political party that has to prepare the political, the philosophical, the religious, and the cultural groundwork for the establishment of, should we call it the second coming, the millennium?
What happened to Agartha? The Moon Masters, the Luminari, the immortals who lived in Agartha represented the spirit-bound, the Alpha Pole. The Masters are the protectors of the spirit. They have whole physical etheric bodies and can materialize at any time. They are the keepers of the magnetic field of the earth and of its karma. They are the other polarity, the spiritual alpha powers. They work together with the Masters of Light. They are the keepers of the Grail, the sacred and integral forces of the inner cosmos. The sacred fire holds the 7 original energies which flow in the 7 chakras of the earth and in every living being, organic or inorganic, as the spirit in matter. As such, it manifests as the building plan of God for the world's eras. Agartha exists as the physical etheric city and conceals the opposite poles of the Brotherhood. The Masters of the Moon are the cosmic feminine powers, the spiritual strength, the inner life force. During the Dark Age of the last 26,000 years, the 7 wise bodies from Atlantis, Kumaras, withdrew to Agartha. They formed the negative pole of the inner world and served the progressing outer humanity, serving as a lever. They now have completed their work in the inner world. They knew also that their deliverance was coming at the time of change of polarity, which would bring to an end the cycle of learning for humanity.
What have we discovered in our research with numerous of my friends about the inner earth? That is, I have to admit, one of the craziest stories that I have been struggling with over the years. However, there is a consistent body of information and research that possibly a lot of these stories are true. As a physicist, I can only say that the physical reality that we live in is nothing more from a vibrational viewpoint than one of the many radio stations on the dial of a radio receiver, and basically we can tune out of this station and next to the next one, tune out of the next one, and to the third, into the fourth, into the fifth. So is physical reality around us. If we increase the frequencies or decrease them, we can tune out of this reality into another one. So it is quite possible that the hollow earth is an entirely valid story from the viewpoint of physics and science, if we're talking about a reality in a different dimension-wise or frequency-wise.
The inheritance of Atlantis. Many thousands of years went by, entire civilizations grew, and the souls experienced what it is like to be human. The eagle and the Brotherhood of the Snake watched over the evolution process for thousands of years. The initiates were the keepers of knowledge and were bound to pass on knowledge only to the spiritually mature through initiation and ceremonies. Thus many different brotherhoods emerged with the aim to promote the process of maturing of humanity. The Brotherhood's mission was to watch over knowledge until human beings themselves were able to draw knowledge from their own inner selves. Indeed, knowledge without experience is dangerous. Every human being had to grow to the present day in order to become the foundation of the human God. The complete human being is the spiritual law of God incarnated. Every era was the manifestation of a different virtue. In each culture, through the descended avatars, humanity was given a new virtue as a foundation for its human completion. The last avatar, Jesus of Nazareth, manifested unconditional love. The new and last avatar is an avatar group, a group of advanced souls who will all spread the same message on earth, the avatar of synthesis or of ascension. The Avatar group introduces the age of Aquarius, in which human beings redefine themselves and recognize that they are one. The Brotherhoods created all world religions under the guidance of the spiritual hierarchy. They promoted all trends arising from humankind itself. They impartially encouraged all 12 black virtues and 12 white virtues in order to create a playing field of experience for becoming human.
For researchers that have been investigating the extraterrestrial presence on our planet, it is very obvious that life did not develop alone and on itself on this planet, but that it was influenced by the presence of hundreds, probably even thousands of extraterrestrial races and visitations over the last, let's say, several 100,000 years. On top of that, it is possible to realize that these extraterrestrial visitations on the planet and the races behind them are loosely grouped into different philosophical and, let's call them, celestial management structures. So on our planet, which has the influence of at least several major such management schools, we see the competing influences of these presences, and we see these gentle attempts at arm wrestling over the table of these management hierarchies to introduce their concepts, their viewpoints about the racial development on our planet, about the philosophical, about the political, about the cultural development.
Human beings have the option to choose the virtue they want. They are responsible for the games they play in becoming human. The Earth, the physical cosmos, was only created in order to experiment on the physical manifestations of matter. Everyone believes that his intention and point of view are always correct. True goodness and true love are always selfless actions, which have no origins anymore, and come from the freedom which dwells in the completed human being. Selfless action never arises to suppress the negative pole, nor to embellish or improve it. Selfless action, a positive action, is worth more than 1,000 words on love and on improving the world.
Alternate time. Let's imagine for an instant that time in the universe is like an ascending spiral, and in one of the curves of the spiral, the Earth died, but the universe continued. So a group of civilizations that is able to travel through space and time, through cosmic folds and multidimensional gates, arrives on Earth and stops the Earth from dying. These emissaries took charge of transforming acid oceans into alkaline oceans. They sowed spores in our world. They accelerated the process of life, hoping that our planet, at a certain moment, could foster a civilization with a psychic and spiritual potential, able to reach levels of evolution that not even these visitors had achieved. It would be a civilization able to reconnect with and establish a bridge of communication with the Creator universe, with the spiritual universe. It would be a civilization destined to surpass their own level of development. The prospect of this opportunity going to new civilizations did not make Lucifer happy. From the very first moment, he tried to boycott and sabotage the project and prevent it from going forward, because it wasn't what he had suggested. We will discover then that the first civilization to be established on our planet was of extraterrestrial origin. Beings of the constellation of the Swans landed on our planet, in a continent in the area corresponding to the present location of Antarctica. This first civilization was also called Antarctica. Later on, other beings arrived in what corresponds to the Mesozoic era, or secondary era, and they installed themselves in the upper part of northern Europe, in what became the Hyperborean civilization, the Upper North. These beings coexisted with an unstable and violent environment, dominated by dinosaurs. They performed genetic manipulation as part of their mission, but then, 65 million years ago, without them being able to stop it, a meteor shower took place. That was a terrible disaster. A cosmic catastrophe was caused by an asteroid of nearly 10 kilometers in diameter, which hit our planet, leaving a crater of 250 kilometers in diameter on the coast of Mérida in the Yucatan Gulf. The impact produced an expansive wave so violent that it wiped out a large proportion of the dinosaurs. Had not this happened, these creatures would have evolved into an intelligent form of life, and today they would be the ones to rule our planet with their intelligence. Our planet was so profoundly affected by the meteoric impact that we could almost say life was extinguished on our world. That's why the Earth was the first planet of the 8 selected for dismissal. 8 planets had been chosen, 2 per galaxy, from a group of galaxies that rotated around M31, a great nebula of Andromeda, located 2 million light-years from us. So there were 2 planets from each of 4 galaxies in that group. After planet Earth was dismissed, they concentrated on the remaining 7 planets. But with time, 3 of those planets were totally destroyed, but even dust remained for them. The original 8, the cosmic directors, ended up now with 4. A very worrying fact. Having the project fail on the other 4 planets, they decided to give a new opportunity to planet Earth. These beings who always travel through space and time for them not being the same as it is for us, came to our world and found out that 80,000 years ago, the Lemurian race, the black race originating from Earth, had evolved to such an extent that they had awakened all their potential, including their extrasensory perception. These human beings were capable of discovering that we were living in an alternate time, different from the real time of the universe, and that time could be crossed. Part of this development resulted from the consumption of hallucinogenic plants, something that the extraterrestrials frowned on. When the extraterrestrials that had dedicated attention to the development of the other 4 planets found out that humanity on Earth was evolving and advancing, but had done it through a process that they considered unworthy, they decided to come here, some 30,000 to 35,000 years ago, and induce a terrible regression in the form of a collective forgetting or global amnesia on the part of humanity. This is mentioned in the Bible in Genesis chapter 11, when it refers to the Tower of Babel. There was an era in history when human beings used to speak the same language. What this means is that we had developed telepathy, extrasensory perception, and we had even been able to construct a ladder to the sky, meaning a connection with the superior, with other realities. And the Bible says that the Elohim were afraid that to the human being nothing would be impossible. So they decided to intervene, to make us forget. That is how 30 to 35,000 years ago, a terrible devolution of the human being was induced in the form of a generalized amnesia, which served to enable the visitors to reassert their own supervision and their control. 25,000 years ago, the beings of 2 big civilizations, Orion and Pleiades, were sent by the galactic counselors to intervene on our planet as guardians and sentinels. Some of them were beings from Orion, and others were beings of the Pleiades. Not all Orions had a humanoid or anthropomorphic appearance. There were ones with reptilian appearance, specifically the chief of the Orions, who was called Satan, an extraterrestrial, not to be confused with Lucifer, who was an ultra-terrestrial. Over centuries of angelology, the study of angels, so much confusion has developed that sometimes the same name is used to refer to an angel of light or one of darkness, and vice versa. For example, the word Satan, adversary, is used to refer to Lucifer when they are 2 completely different entities. The guardians and sentinels had the idea to evaluate the evolutionary process of humanity. As mentioned earlier, a terrible devolution had been produced, specifically referred to in chapter 11 of Genesis, when it says the Elohim saw that the human beings spoke the same language and that we had been able to build a ladder to the sky, that now nothing would be impossible for us. This ladder obviously wasn't a ziggurat, or a tower, or a pyramid, but a psychic and spiritual connection. So they decided to come here and confuse the languages, They made us forget, and that forgetting was a form of devolution as recorded in the cosmic plan.
Entonces, la responsabilidad de los guardianes y vigilantes.
Then the responsibility of these guardians and sentinels was assigned to Satan, who was a loyal follower of the teachings of Lucifer. Satan took a moment to consider that if the project had failed in the other 7 planets, and that if here the experimenters had lost control of the experiment from the beginning, it could jeopardize the cosmic statu quo, the established order. The best thing to do, he reasoned, was cancel the project and end it so that the experiment would not continue in our world. Not all the guardians and sentinels are in agreement with Satan's point of view, and some of them stayed loyal to the cosmic plan, while others turned against it. Thus a tension and crisis arose among the guardians, initially on the theoretic level, but subsequently became a real war of the galaxies, whose echoes still resound throughout the universe. The Bible tells of the war between the sons of light and the sons of darkness, the war of the angels. The Mahabharata and the Ramayana talk about the true war of galaxies, with our world as a neutral scenario of their battles. At the end, the leaders of the opposition were subjected to extradition to Earth. They didn't want to come to help us. They were forced to come here. Even though not all the Orions participated with the dissidents, and many of them remained faithful to the cosmic plan, they were replaced by beings of Sirio, a greater clan, who along with the Pleiadians remained as guardians and sentinels. Those Orions who remained loyal were sent to the moons of Jupiter, and they remained there in mining colonies observing our planet, with hopes that someday they could act as planetary instructors and compensate for the damage that their fellows had caused us, or vindicate themselves as a civilization. Those beings that were deported here to the Earth should have changed their attitude, but that didn't happen. From the very first moment, they declared war to the death against humanity, and they tried to keep the cosmic plan from proceeding, so that humanity would not reach a level of evolution that they didn't want, or that they feared that the humans could achieve. They constituted a secret world government, fearsome and negative. These satanic forces started to conspire terribly against humanity. Being accustomed to living for thousands of years outside our world, they prematurely became old and died, becoming trapped in a 4th dimension here on our planet. Throughout history, they have influenced many human beings, persons with weak character and weak will. They connected these persons to politics, religion, and economy, to the leadership of the military, and to fashion and music, in order to sow worldwide chaos through these human agents and lead the world to its own destruction. The extraterrestrial beings of this terrifying and negative planetary regime are the ones who also somehow had influence over the Pleiadians to commit the serious transgression of having sexual relations with human beings on Earth. It was Semyasis, the boss of the 200 Pleiadians, who had sexual contact with the human beings. This is mentioned in Genesis chapter 6, when it says, "When the men started populating the earth and producing children, and the sons of God, the angels of heaven, seeing before their eyes that the daughters of men were beautiful, took as many as they wanted, and with them they procreated the ancient heroes of the past." That is how these 200 extraterrestrials had sexual contact and produced hybrids, mestizos, and were reunited in a group of 10 islands, the largest of them, Dondo Island, in the Atlantic Ocean. There they established their capital in Poseidon and Poseidopolis. As Plato mentions in his dialogues, Critias and Timaeus, as well as in the Republic. Such was the knowledge and technology received from the extraterrestrials by the Atlanteans that it allowed them to develop large experimentation labs. The Atlanteans with curiosity. The technology these Martians received and the great advancement developed by the Atlanteans led to the gradual decimation of the Martian civilization. It also attracted an asteroid of erratic orbit called in those times Marduk. It would have crashed against Terma, Yoma, or Maldek, and the resulting meteor shower would have rained destruction on the colonies of Mars. That same meteoric shower would have reached the Earth, first making impact on the Moon.
aquel entonces la Tierra atrapó dos grandes fragmentos.
The Earth trapped two big fragments that remained for a time as additional moons, meaning that at a certain moment of planetary history, we had 3 moons. Those additional moons would subsequently have been absorbed by the Earth. One of them crashed in the Pacific Ocean, leaving as an imprint the Philippines basin of 11 kilometers in depth.
Más tarde, la otra luna también cae.
Later, the other moon fell in the Caribbean, leaving as impact the Puerto Rico basin of 9 kilometers in depth. This created a zone of magnetic aberration, where the line forces that go from pole to pole tend to curl, forming whirlwinds and vortices of electromagnetic forces that collapse space-time, opening gates to other dimensions. These great destructions would have caused the last major glaciation, 11 to 12,000 million years ago, and would have covered the Antarctic with ice. The Antarctic was a continent that was going through the last period of Lemuria, the period of Mu. This was the greatest advancement to the original black race on our planet. This was the greatest advancement of the original black race on our planet, after the intervention of the Guardians and Sentinels. The Lemurians had then to be rescued and taken out of there. They were taken to Mesoamerica in what is now Mexico, and that's how the Olmec civilization emerges. The last archaeological discoveries made in the state of Guerrero, on the Pacific coast of Mexico, demonstrate the Olmec culture was thousands of years older than we originally supposed, and that would explain their Negro facial features. The Olmecs also appear in stelas in great stone sculptures driving spaceships, something that later we will see repeated in the Maya civilization itself. To counteract the nefarious effect of all these negative influences, 32 beings from 32 different civilizations were sent to Earth and landed in the desert of Gobi in Mongolia and founded the mythical Shambhala, the capital of the Dagartha kingdom of the extraterrestrial world. A web of tunnels and galleries was established, where large deposits and files of knowledge of the lost history of humanity reposed, in hopes that someday men of goodwill could have access to such knowledge. We could all awaken our consciousness and remember the mission that has been assigned to us in the cosmic plan. Learn to love and teach others to love. Love in its supreme exaltation, in its essence. After the disaster that supposedly destroyed Atlantis in the last period of Lemuria, the extraterrestrials, the Guardians and Sentinels, decided to accelerate the process of humanity, and that's how they concentrated their efforts in Mesopotamia, where the Sumeria project emerged. Sumer or Sumeria translates the country of spaceships, and it is there where the first pyramids, the ziggurats, are constructed. They were not astronomical observation towers or temples. They were towers of ascent and descent for spaceships, just like today we have been able to interpret from the clay tablets written in ideographic symbols and cuneiform that have survived to our days. In the Sumerian era, small city-states emerged where the extraterrestrials decided to work with large collectives of people, giving them instruction and knowledge, but discouraging dependency. The Sumerian civilization achieved a great level of development, and the Sumerians themselves elected the Patesios, the Elsios as representatives of the people to maintain fluent communication with the An, the goddesses of the sky, who would visit from time to time. During each of their visits, a fluid exchange of information and knowledge took place. During each of their visits, a fluid exchange of information and knowledge took place. Back then, the planetary quarantine imposed by the Guardians and Sentinels was not that rigid, allowing not only Ans, the gods of the sky, to arrive here with good intentions to further the cosmic plan, but also the Anunnaki, the sons of the prince, reptile-looking beings connected to Satan and the satanic forces, who from time to time would act in our world in a very negative fashion, trying to conduce the Sumerians to fight against each other. Great wars were incited, and they encouraged very violent developments of peoples like the Sacarios, who ended up exterminating and destroying the Sumerians. The Sumerian project, working on a wide collective group of people, failed because finally, at the end, dependencies had been created anyway. They were paying too much attention to the return of the ants. The extraterrestrials, the guardians and the sentinels, and the planetary instructors decided therefore to work with an elite group of individuals. They chose for this the Egyptian priestess, heirs of the knowledge of Atlantis, survivors of the Atlantia, who came to Egypt with extraterrestrial knowledge because there were extraterrestrial colonies in Egypt. Survivors of Sumeria settled there, so all that sum of knowledge and information was going to emerge as the great nation of Egypt. When still the rest of humanity was in the Neolithic age, the great Egyptian civilization appears. The great achievements of a civilization never occur at the beginning or the end, but at the height and splendor of development. The greatest development, extension and expansion of Egypt was between the 18th, 19th, and 20th dynasty of the new empire. Nevertheless, in that era, there isn't anything similar to the pyramids, which are of the 3rd and 4th dynasty, especially the pyramids of Cheops, Khephren, and Cerinos, the most famous, which date from the 4th dynasty. For these to be from the old empire, the most ancient Egyptian period, is impossible. This demonstrates that there is a connection with these beings from the sky and with the remaining Atlantis. The Egyptian priestess, after receiving this superior knowledge, were supposed to retransmit it to the people, sharing it in a way that was comprehensible, in a way it could be understood. Nevertheless, with time, the priestess, instead of sharing it with others, kept it for themselves, for self-education, and when initiating others, they didn't share all they knew, maybe because they considered that the others weren't worthy, or because they didn't want them to replace them in their work. The knowledge consequently started to become diluted, and it reached a point when knowledge was lost. Egypt fell under the influence of these terrifying dark forces that tried to get humanity to forget. So after failing in working with a wide group of people and also with an elite of individuals, it was decided to work with one individual and to program his or her genetics. By chance, the chosen one was Abraham, psychic since birth. He used to easily have telepathic communication with these beings, and what is more, he was such an intelligent man with such broad judgment that he accepted at that time, when there were 1,000 commonly accepted gods, the idea of one single god, which was a very advanced concept. The idea became to program Abraham's line of descendants, and you can see very clearly that all through the sacred history there is evidence of serious genetic manipulations or interventions of these beings. For example, Abraham was not able to have children with Sarah. Nevertheless, with the help of those from above, they finally had Isaac. Isaac married Rebekah, but Rebekah was not able to have children either. Nevertheless, with the Lord's help, she conceived Jacob and Esau. Jacob married his cousin Leah, and then Rachel, the one who he really loved, but she was sterile too. But with the help of these beings from other worlds, she finally conceived Joseph, he of the premonitory dreams, he of the talent of prophecy, the one who interpreted the Pharaoh's dreams. Samson was the son of sterile parents. Samuel the same. Mary the Virgin was the daughter of Joachim and Anna. They were not able to have children. With intervention from the heavens, Mary is born, creating conditions for the birth of Jesus Christ, who was not an extraterrestrial, but an extraordinary terrestrial. The New Testament tells the story of Jesus. Jesus had been a person, a human being on the earth, who through multiple reincarnations on this planet had reached a high evolutionary level. He did not need to reincarnate. However, out of love for humanity, he accepted his destiny to come back. He prepared himself for his 3 years of public life in such a way that a cosmic symbiosis took place in him, a transmigration, by which a being from the category of the sons of God, a jealous, a shining one of the creator parents named Michael, fused with him, coexisted with him during those 3 years, keeping him company in the realization of his great mission. What did this great mission consist of? Specifically to teach humanity that love is the strongest force in the universe, capable of overcoming everything and transforming everything, including overcoming death. understanding love as respect, tolerance, and forgiveness among human beings. The day will come, according to the Apocalypse, that humanity will have access to a certain knowledge that was hidden for ages. When this knowledge emerges, the forces of darkness will become subject to humanity for 1,000 years. At the end of the 1,000 years, which begin on the 22nd of December, year 2012, a new millennium will start. And at the end of that millennium, it is believed that humanity will take the side of the forces of light in a last great battle, the Battle of Armageddon. But what would happen if at the moment humanity finds out that we have been victims of a cosmic conspiracy in which extraterrestrials and ultra-terrestrial forces, our creator parents, and even our older siblings have conspired against humanity? What would happen if in that moment, instead of humanity struggling against the darkness, in a supreme act of love we say, "Father, forgive them, for they were mistaken"? They tried to prevent the evolution of man on Earth, and on the contrary, they made man of greater value and greater significance. Such was the pressure on the coal, meaning humanity, that the quality of the diamond is excellent. In this moment of forgiveness, a cosmic redemption of the Earth will be sealed. What is expected to happen in the following years? Humanity will access knowledge that was hidden. A wealth of information will come to light. Information that has been hidden by the governments and by religions. The enlightenment will be so profound that many people won't be able to resist it. Among the things that humanity is going to discover is that we are in an alternative time, paradoxical, that we are not in real time, and that we are getting closer to a reconnection, a synchronization of times. In the months and years following December 22nd, year 2012, we are going to see a speeding up of psychic potential in dreams and consciousness. Great transformations in the planet will take place at the ecological and climatic levels, including natural catastrophes of tremendous impact. Why? Because the Earth is getting closer to a great planetary labor. The Maya civilization wisely anticipated this. They considered that starting in the year 2003, each year symbolically will be like a month of pregnancy, leading to a great planetary birth. That great labor has been foreseen as taking place between now and December 22nd, year 2012. Will humanity be capable of fulfilling the great mission that it has been assigned? Will we really be capable of all-important moment of cosmic forgiveness? How will we be capable of such a gesture if prior to that we are not able to exercise tolerance and to forgive and accept our family and others the way they are? Today, the terrifying forces are trying to encourage whatever it takes to destabilize our civilization. Racial hate, ethnic hate, religious struggles and confrontations. We are at the most propitious moment in human history to demonstrate a real spiritual level in our striving for unity and diversity. We should emphasize everything that unites us and not what separates us. Remember that we are human beings and our home is planet Earth. A planet predestined to be the light for others, the light of the cosmos. We are not the center of creation, but we are at the center of a cosmic expectation. Otherwise, so many extraterrestrial civilizations wouldn't have been coming since immemorial time to our world. We are living the most extraordinary moment of human history, a great defining moment. It is also the time of a great awakening. Either we succeed at passing through these events, or we will simply not achieve the goal. Not a lot of people are needed to change the world. The Hopi Indians, or Pueblo Indians, talked about 144,000 sun dancers who had to remain dancing through a night of darkness to ensure the birth of the next day. The Apocalypse teaches us about 144,000 people who washed their clothes, meaning that they awoke their consciousness. Relatively few people are needed to change the world. What is needed is that all those people who are evolving and growing give their best and remain constant and committed to the process of change. Let's remember that we live in a universe without limits. The only limit is our own ignorance. Don't believe anything you have heard. Think, reflect, but the most important thing is to feel, because the truth is inside of everyone.